really started with Vanessa, who I'd known for a while, wanting to work together, and her sort of saying, I have this schedule, I have these openings, over the next year. Should we try to get something made? And it came from some discussions that she said she wanted to be thrown out into the streets, and she wanted to sort of experience being lost in the streets. And we had some conversations on the idea of being present and what that means. And so I had an idea from a few years before about a woman who gets lost in who forgets her memory and gets lost in New York, but I couldn't crack it. And as I was talking to Vanessa, I started to revisit that, and it was like, well, what if we just tell this completely from her point of view? And so we never see the husband trying to find her. We never see, and we're sort of in this state. This is this dissociative state with her, and that felt interesting, and that felt exciting, and it felt different, and like a challenge that for Vanessa, who likes to know every detail of the biography of her character, and is going to have to take on a character that doesn't know who she is. And I was working with these teenagers on this other project, this live show, and they were really tremendous. And I felt like, okay, well, if you have this person who's lost and trying to find their identity, getting them immersed with a bunch of teenagers who are in that moment in their life where they're trying on different identities and finding their own identity feels natural. And so it kind of came from like, what do we have on the table? What do we want to sort of do? What do we have available to us? And it developed pretty quickly out of that.
Adam, I really love the freshness of the teenagers. I feel like it was a documentary, and they were so real, and it gave me a bit of nostalgia, because in a way I wanted to be where they are. But yeah. I think I'm in a different place, like Vanessa's, but maybe Vanessa's in the same place because she's starting from scratch in a way.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good sort of way of saying it. I think it was very fun for me to sort of live in their world for a while, and made me feel cool. And yeah, I think that there is something where for them, I think that, we talked about this with them about like how they respond to this woman, Alina, who isn't a teacher, isn't a parent, isn't a relative, and is so strange. And there's almost a little bit of like, you can be like this as an adult, that I think is interesting to those characters, the teenage characters. And it's a little scary. And so, yeah, I think that there is something where she can relate to them potentially better. Well, she does in the movie. She relates to them better in New York than she does in London. And I think that she relates to teenagers better when she's not holding on to the social graces that she needs to have, the feeling of needing to protect yourself, that sort of stuff.
Adam, when you threw the main actress into the streets of New York, did you throw yourself too, or you knew where you were?
What do you mean? Yeah, I mean, we were.
Were you also searching, or you had everything scripted?
We knew it. We had a script. We knew what the story was. The story, the script, the feeling of the movie always stayed the same. There was parts of it that were very scripted, and written dialogue that was rehearsed and done. There were parts of it that were like, okay, this is going to be this part of this scene, you guys just sort of do what you do. And then there was definitely days and time spent on, we are going to just go out into the streets and try to process the world as she is trying to process the world. And so we're all going to be Alina, in some ways, and following her around. So we would have days where, and again, this isn't a loose improv movie. This was very structured in terms of our schedule, in terms of what we want to do. But we would have days where we would say, okay, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. We're gonna go down the West Fourth subway. We're gonna ride the E train out to Queens. We're gonna ride it back. We're gonna go up here. We're gonna walk around, and we're gonna capture the city and capture the world. And the feeling was always that's going to be a part of this movie. It's a part of the story. How much what we do, we knew we had way too much footage of that, but yes, that was definitely part of the process.
I think it worked really well. And in a way, it's like, for me, it was, Adam, a little kind of like a story of liberation, because this person has no history, no baggage. She's completely free and at the same time, completely open and innocent in a way. And she's surprised by everything.
She is. I think she's innocent, and we it's really such a credit to Vanessa to be able to tap into that, to be able to tap into seeing things as they are, or for the first time in some ways. One thing that I think is interesting is I do think it is in some ways a story of liberation, but we didn't want to over glamorize what she's going through either. She's lying also a lot. Like she knows she doesn't know who she is, and she's pretending, she's not letting anybody else know that. And so I think that the interview spaces become really important in the movie, because there's these interviews with the teenagers where she's in the state that she's in New York, and she's able to be fully honest as well. And so to me, that feels like the really exciting space that she's in.
But in my opinion, she's in. I'm sorry, Anna. In my opinion, she's lying because it's a way of protecting herself. You cannot go out and tell people, I don't know who I am. I don't know what's going on. I don't have I don't have history. So it makes sense, because it could be very scary.
No, it's not coming from a bad place or a manipulative place or anything like that. It's her defense mechanism. But yes, yeah.
From all the things you could have done, why did you choose filmmaking as a way of expressing yourself and telling us stories?
I don't know. I've wanted to do it since I was a little kid, and I've always wanted to do it. And as I got closer and closer to it, as I was PA, was a production assistant on other projects, as I started to do my own short films, I just continued to, because I know people who have that experience and want that, and then they sort of, as they get closer, they're like, this isn't for me. I love it. I love it very, very much. It is. I'm the happiest when I'm working on a movie, and I feel very, very lucky to be able to do it.
How gratifying is to get recognition as a filmmaker at festivals, or is it your ego gets really big, or?
Well, I have a big ego to begin with, so no, I don't know. It's gratifying. This movie's an interesting one, because you make a movie like this, and the other two films I made are more inherently crowd pleasers. In making a movie like this, that some people are going to grab onto the journey of it and some people aren't. And I think it's really important for me and for the whole team that we see the movie how we see the movie, and we don't live and die by people's reactions. There's been amazing reactions. There's been negative reactions. That's true for every movie. And that can be hard. It can be hard not to sort of to separate, what you heard that person say. You heard that person say, oh my God, this is a brilliant movie. And oh my God, I must be so brilliant. Oh my God, this is pretentious bullshit. Oh my God, I'm full of shit. But I think you can't let that define your work or how you think about your work. Of course, it's tremendous to get recognition and to be able, but for me, it's the way I think about it is I really do love the job so much and I want to always be able to keep doing the job. So it's when I get recognition, I'm like, oh, this is going to be good because it can help allow me to keep doing this.
So Anna, my last question, because I know you're in a junket mood, right? You have other people.
Yes.
So is this like a new departure? This kind of storytelling, is it a new departure for you? So if you compare it to the work that you've done in the past?
Yeah, it's very different process than what I've done before. I think that some of what we've done in terms of the process of this is going to stay with me. I definitely learned a lot, and there's definitely people I worked with on this movie that I want to continue to work with. But it feels also unique. The process of this movie feels unique to the story of this movie. And so I'm surprised I made it. When I look at it sometimes, I'm like, wow, we did this. And I didn't make it, a bunch of people made it, but I'm surprised to have my name on this. And I'm very proud of that. And I don't know what that will mean for the future.
One last question, if I may. I'm very curious about the teenagers. They were so real, and I felt so. It was like talking to my nieces and nephews. But are they real kids or they're actors? It was amazing.
It's a mix. It's a mix. But most of them were non-professional. And some were people that we knew. Some were people that one of our producers, who's one of the kids, Fred Heckinger, he brought in a lot of people that he knew. We had a great casting team, great casting duo that brought in a bunch of other New York City kids, and we just met with a lot of them, and then we found the ones that we felt were the most open and like not jaded and were the most curious and alive, and we worked with them for months and months in prep.
Very beautiful. Everything was great. Thank you so much. I learned a lot from the movie.
Oh, thank you so much.
I want to be lost in Los Angeles.
Well, last thing I'll say, the writing of this movie and the preparation of this movie was extremely exciting and interesting, because I would go out as Alina. I would go and try to look at the city and the faces and the people and the places, and it was a sensory overload. It was as somebody who's grew up in New York City, has lived almost my whole life in New York City. It was really sort of trying to press a reset on how I navigated the city, and that was cool and thrilling. So I recommend you try to pretend to be Alina.
I totally understand what you're saying, and I love the film. Thank you so much, John.
Thank you.
Take care. Happy New Year, by the way.
You too.
Bye.